Today I'm going to code a new page in Dreamweaver. This is going to be a retail page with a header and a category sidebar, navigation at the top, and a bunch of different little thumbnails that are going to showcase different products. So to get started, what I need to do is go into Dreamweaver and create a new page for myself. I'm just going to use a regular HTML page. I'm not doing anything fancy to it. I just want the basic stuff because, well, I'm going to code everything all in there myself. So once I get started, I've got my code window down here and going to ignore that for now. I'm just going to put in first, I need to create some style tags because I think I'm going to put my styles in first, and then I'm going to create what's known as divs that correspond to each style that I put in there. This is inline CSS, so it sits neatly in the code of the page that I'm working on and does not require an external style sheet. Okay, so my style tags are in there. So now I can start putting some styles in there. So the first style I'm going to make is going to be a style for the fonts. So I'm just going to type HTML, put in some curly brackets, start by typing font family. There's a lot of code hints here. Sometimes I use them, sometimes I don't. I'm going to choose, well, first quotation marks, and I can choose Gil Sans. That's terrific. So the other quotes are in there. Everything looks cool. And next I'm going to put in, I can put it on the next line. I can skip down a line. It really doesn't matter how much space I put in here. So I might just put in as much space as I find comfortable for myself. Sometimes when Dreamweaver automatically puts in those two curly tags, sometimes I'll just hit return and like bump things down to the next line. So now I'm going to set a background color parameter. And again, this is not necessarily something that I would forgot something from this line. Important. Semicolon. Or that's not going to work. Okay. And like all things, if you hit the wrong keys or spell things wrong, stuff doesn't work. Okay, so background, colon, what am I putting in here? Something gray. Hashtag CCC. Semicolon, space, margin, I'm going to set it to 0. And another semicolon to close that out, otherwise it doesn't work. You'll see the colors of the code change as I do this. So now I've got the parameters for my body. It is time to put in a parameter with a special hashtag because I'm putting in a style that I only want to apply to the container area. So I'm going to put a hashtag before it. That way Dreamweaver will know that I will only apply this style to my container. So again, curly tags, I'm going to hit return because I like to space after that curly tag. I'm going to put in width parameters, which I'm going to also, spell right. Okay, so width I'm going to set to, and I'm writing 1024 pixels right now. I might change this to something else later, it doesn't really matter. Put in the semicolon, type margin, colon, 0, and semicolon. Background color, again, just, I don't know if this is what I'm going to leave in there, but I just want you to be able to see what I put in there, not semicolon, colon this time. So, hashtag and white, FFF, semicolon, And you're not going to see anything up here in the design window because I haven't put in the rest of the code. So I'm actually coding the entire page. So I'm going to put my cursor in after that curly tag, set another parameter. I'm going to put a nav bar in here. So I'm going to type hashtag navbar curly tags, hit return. And normally if I'm writing out, sometimes I write the HTML first and then I apply some styles to it. I'm going to do a little bit of both. Okay, 100%, semicolon, what else? Height, we'll make it a skinny little thing. Only 30 pixels. Set some things that are going to control the way it looks, and background I'm going to set the color to black. Okay, so there's not a whole lot going on here. What I need to do is, and like I said, I don't normally do half the styles and then start putting in code for what's going to go into the body, but I'm just going to put my cursor between the body tags and start putting in some HTML. So the first container that I'm going to have in there, the first div, it's always called a div. I'm going to call it div ID because it's not a class, it's a special area of my page. So I'm going to put in, which I also spell right. You'll notice I'm spelling everything wrong today. It's a special talent. Okay, and this is regular HTML, so everything goes between those little carrot-shaped brackets. So if I want to, I'm just going to hit return a couple of times, and I'm going to put in the closing div tag for this div. As soon as I start typing that left caret and the slash, it'll finish off the word div. I don't have to type anything else. It saves time. So now I've got the container div in here, and if I click in here, yeah, it's not going to do a whole lot. Okay, so let's see if I can get some stuff to show up. So the next div I'm going to put in here is going to be the navbar div. Okay, so again, it's a specific area of my page, so it's going to be div ID as opposed to div class. In quotations, navbar, another bracket, and I have to put a closing div tag for that too. Okay, so now what just happened up here? My little nav bar appeared. So I haven't set all the parameters here for this, so it's like a what the heck, just kind of hanging here. I'm going to write some more code, and then I'm going to show you how I can go back into the CSS and start styling it. So I know, let's see, navbar, I need to have some ULs in there to make my stuff appear. UL stands for unordered list, and I'm going to have a bunch of LI tags for list items. So I can code those out. AHREF, they're like regular links, equals, quotation. I'm not going to put anything in there yet, but I am going to make them say something. LINK. Okay, that's my whole link. And I got to put an LI, closing LI tag after that. Like I said, I didn't just type that. I just hit the caret and the slash, and it sort of finishes it for me. So I'm going to copy that because why reinvent the wheel every time? Paste. And paste. So I'm going to have 3, I'll do another one for good measure. Okay, so 4 links in there. I'm going to finish out my UL tag. So now you got these things that have appeared there. Ew, yucky. So if I wanted to style that, like I said, I don't normally go back and forth, but if I want to start styling, I just put in those UL tags. So what I can do, type another hashtag because this is something that I only want to apply to the nav bar. And this is a nav bar specific thing for UL, curly tags, hit return. And I'm going to put in margin, margin 0. Margin 0 so that it's bumped up against the top, semicolon, padding 0, semicolon, and I may not need this, but I may wind up needing it later. Okay, so list style type, and I'm going to set it to none for now. Okay, so not doing too much yet. I gotta write some more stuff into here. So other style things, again, put the cursor in after that curly tag that closes out the navbar UL parameters, and I'm going to start styling those LI, list item things, because I just styled my UL stuff, the UL tag, which is down here. So now each item has to be styled separately. Okay, so this one is going to be ULLI. I'm going to put in some curly tags, hit return, go back to that curly tag, put in a space, and start typing okay, I'm going to type color. I may not need it here. I may wind up pulling this out later. That's just fine. But I am going to need some padding only on the top. I think I said 10 pixels. That may need to be changed later too. So 10 pixels, and I'm going to float these things on the left. Okay, now I gotta style those things, the purple things in there that just say link, 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 blech. That looks bad. Okay, so navbar, UL, because that's where it is, LI, and A, because these are those ahref tags. So curly tag, hit return, color. Colors always have hashtags in front of them. And font size. Sometimes I use the little helpers, sometimes I don't. 12 pixels sounds good. Forgot the hashtag, which is why it's not working. Now they're all white. Okay, but there are still, it's like a vertical list. Ew, ew. Let's change that. So now I'm going to do float left. I can throw in some more padding. Okay, so, well, they're all smashed up against one another, and I don't like that. So padding, I'm going to type in something special. 0, 0, 0, and 20 pixels. Sometimes I put commas between those, sometimes not. Sometimes it works without the commas, that's always nice. And display block, which I may not need, may take that out later, but that's a start. So I don't see any, there's like no padding on the top. So sometimes if I change these, padding right, padding top, okay, padding top is going to be this one. Code hints are nice. Okay, so that will be all the things that I'm going to put in for my nav bar. And now I need to make another div, which I'm going to do after the div tag for my nav bar, because this is going to be where I put my header div. So I'm going to start typing again. Div ID equals, in quotations, header, close the tag, return twice. You don't have to hit return twice, but I usually like to hit. Remember, every tag that you, every div ID that you put in here is going to have a closing div tag. So like down towards the bottom of your page, you're going to have like one after another. Every tag has to have a closing, a slash tag. So that's why I'm typing this way. And now I can set a style. Like I said, I don't usually go back and forth. I usually set the styles first. So I'm going to set the style for header, since that's what I'm working on now. Curly tags, hit return, and header should be 100%. I have a feeling like I missed something somewhere. I'm thinking I missed something. Okay, with 100% for the header, margin 0 pixels. And you know something funny, I'm looking at container and it says margin 0, and I wonder, I'm going to need pixels in there. Okay, good, fixed. Sometimes I fix things as I go, sometimes I wait till things break and they don't work. I'm also apparently missing a, take that out of there and make that 0. Okay, that'll keep things spread out. Oh, also this, like if I misspell things and write nav bur instead of nav bar, hey, there we go, that's better. That's why it wasn't applying that stuff. I'm waiting for something that spell checks my own mistakes. I haven't found it yet. Okay, so let's continue styling the header. So I've got a width of 100%, margin of 0 pixels. I think next I'm going to put in padding, but only on the top. So padding top. Padding for the top, let's do 10 pixels. Every time I type a different parameter, I'm always going to have that colon in the middle of stuff and that semicolon to end things. Otherwise, things will break and they won't work the way they're supposed to. For height, which I just misspelled. Nice that it changes color to let me know I misspelled it. So height, I'm going to make 115 pixels. And I'm going to put a border on the bottom. This is, again, like, just so you can see it. I don't think I'm going to leave it there, just for purposes of being able to see stuff now. So border bottom, I'm going to make 4 pixels. And so we can see that border, I'm going to make it solid. Actually, let's take that out. Border solid and black. Then put in the semicolon. May not need that. There it is. Okay. Take stuff out as you go. Always works. Okay. So background. Set it to a light shade of gray. Dark shade of gray. And I think I'm going to leave that the way it is for now. I want to put in a sidebar div. Sidebar is where I'm going to have all my categories listed. So to put in the sidebar, after the div, the slash div that I made for header, I got to put my cursor in and hit return. I'm going to hit it a number of times just so I can kind of move down on the page. And I can also slide that up just a wee bit so we can see what I'm working on over here. So now I'm going to create a new div ID equals, in quotations, sidebar. I'm going to make sure I spell that correctly. Closing caret, slash div down on the bottom. And for sidebar, after the curly tag for the header styles, hashtag sidebar. And the sidebar, I'm going to float left I think I'm going to set the width of it to 140 pixels. Again, nothing is set in stone because these CSS parameters control the look of everything. If I decide I want to change it later, it works like styles in just about anything else, like InDesign or Illustrator or Photoshop. And if you've got everything controlled via styles and you decide you want to change something later, it's very easy to change it out. So for width, I said 140 pixels. Padding, because I don't want type slamming up against the side. So padding left 10 pixels. And background, let's make just, again, not necessarily something I would do, but just so we can see it. Okay, so background, let's set to and I'm going to have to set a clear both on this. Okay. And I've got nothing in my sidebar yet, so nothing's going to show up. So I should start putting in some P tags. Make sure I coded everything correctly. Make sure I spelled everything correctly. Okay, so in my sidebar, I'm going to throw in a P tag and type the word category, which I'm also going to spell very badly. Okay, closing tag. Okay, so things are, I got to put the content in there. This stuff's not going to show up. So I'm going to cheat, hit return and paste. And hit return and paste and hit return and paste. So every time I type the word category, if I've got P tags closing it, I'm always going to have this space between there. If I want to avoid that, what I can do is I can take out all these other P tags Yeah, I know, I missed one of those brackets. Okay, and I'm going to get rid of these P tags and replace them with BR tags for break. So now I've got a break between each line that bumps it down to the next line, but I've got this P tag over here at the end. So if I want more categories, I'm going to copy and paste that last one that says category, the bracket BR bracket, and I'm going to hit return here, hit return again, and it's just going to keep putting in different categories, which, like I said, I could put in lots. I could keep hitting return and put in a whole bunch of them. Great. So now I've got this, okay, category sidebar. I might eventually wind up setting a parameter for height on the sidebar if I wanted to extend down to the bottom of the page. For now, my next div that I'm going to add and style after the sidebar is going to be my main content area, which is going to be over here. So again, I got to put my cursor in after that sidebar div, the slash div that corresponds to the sidebar, and I'm going to make a new area in here. Again, I haven't styled it yet, so nothing's going to show up. So div ID equals main, excuse me, main underscore content closing caret, hit a few times down, slash, and I've just closed that div. So hey, let's style it. So after the curly tag for the sidebar is where I'm going to put in the styles for my main content. Main underscore content. Curly tags, hit return. Move back up to that line, hit space, and this is something I'm going to float right because I want it to appear on this side of the page. So float right. Width for now I'm going to set to 860 pixels. And again, that's something that's not set in stone. I may wind up changing it. That's fine. Height I'm going to set to auto. And the background color, I think I will leave white. But I'm going to put that in there just in case. Actually, I could make the background a really repulsive color so we can see it. I could use the color picker if I want. Okay. So again, I just set the styles for that, but you don't see anything here, including that obnoxious pink background color. And that's because there's no content in my main content area. I got to put some content in there. So in my main content area, I'm going to put in a bunch of different things using div class instead of div ID, because these things that I'm going to put in here, they're just little thumbnail areas with a little image in them and an item name and I think price. So these are things that I might want to stick elsewhere on the page. So I may not want to apply a regular div ID. I may want to apply a div class instead. So we're going to write it differently. Down here in the HTML, we're just going to write div class equals and What am I putting first? Okay, let's do item. Okay, again, I got to close that out, slash div, and in between the item, I got to make another div class. I'm going to call it div class equals, it's the thumbnail area, so I'm just going to call it thumb. And you're probably seeing a pattern here. I'm just going to hit return again. I got to close out the div. Okay. So once I put one of those in there, I'm going to put more in there. I got to put something in that thumb area. So I'm going to put in some p tags. Maybe I want things to appear bold, so I can type the word strong. Item. Not that. Okay, and slash to close out the p tag. And you notice that once I put that item in there, this changed color. So what I am going to do is, well, I don't think I put anything in there for an image. I can use thumb for that. Okay, so I would want a bunch of these. So if I've got these two divs, okay, one div for item, one div for thumb, I'm going to have a slash div for item and a slash div for thumb. That's the entire thing I'm going to copy. Copy, hit return, twice if you like, and paste. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's style these and make them look not like that. So after my curly tag for my main content style, I'm going to go down a line and type, and like I said, this is a div class, so it's different. I'm going to get the code hints for anything that I've already put in the HTML. So first I'm going to style item, just because it's giving me that choice. So curly brackets, I'm going to hit return, put my cursor back in there, and type a width parameter. And for width, I think I'm going to make it 150 pixels. Background color, let's put something different in there so we can see it. Okay, color is always preceded by hashtags. Okay, so now I've got that lovely gray color in there. For float, I'm going to make this float left. And position is something that's going to be relative to the thing that I'm sticking it into. Use the code hints if you like. Margin, 10 pixels. And, you know, if you're watching the design window, you can see all this happening as I'm doing it. What else should I put in there? Oh, we need some padding. So for padding, I think I'm going to put only 5 pixels. Just so we can see these. Like I said, normally this is not something I would do. Border style. Solid. And I think I'm going to leave everything else the way it is. I'm going to set my parameters for thumb now. So I go put my cursor in after that last curly bracket and start typing that dot, and I'm going to get the choice, thumb. Okay, so curly brackets, hit return. So for thumbnail, I'm going to put everything next line down because I'm feeling a little lazy. Okay, so width, 125 pixels. And yeah, I know, I just misspelled the word width. Height, we're going to make these square, so this is where I would put in my thumbnail images. So I just need this space to like drop stuff in. And because we can't really see it, I should put in definitely a margin. We'll set that at 9 pixels. Clear both, which I may take out later if it doesn't do what I want it to do. And let's give it a background color just to make it more visible to you. Okay. So now I've got these divs with this stuff. So I noticed that I stuck my, not where I would have wanted it. I stuck all my item tag stuff into the thumbnail. If I decide, and this is like one of those things like, oops, I coded it already. So if I want to take that out of there, what I'm going to do is go back to each item, and after the word, actually no, not after there. I'm going to put it after, it's got to go inside the item tags, but after that thumb div thing. So I'm going to put it in here. Yeah, sure, that's what I want. Okay, so we're going to go back in and rip all those out of there. And that will straighten things out. Or click and drag to select. Sometimes this works and sometimes it doesn't. So my page is coming along really nicely now. Okay, I've got the items in the right place and not inside the thumb anymore, which is absolutely awesome. And the last thing I want to put in here is a footer area. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the div ID for the footer first, because this is going to be a little tricky. I've got these two div tags down here, /div tags. One is for, I think, main content area. I gotta leave those two there. If I go back up to the top where my divs are, I've got div ID for container and main content, and that's probably what those things are down there. So I'm going to hit return. If I screw up, I can always go back. And now I'm going to type div ID, and again, this is like, it's not a div class. This is going to be a specific area on the page. So div ID equals footer. And yeah, like I said, okay, wait a second. So I'm going to put a second div ID. I just realized structurally, okay, so we'll put a div ID down here, and that div ID is going to become the footer. So in the footer area, I would put things like customer service. Oh, and after customer service, I got to put in a break tag. And maybe shipping fees, break tag, because I want to separate all these things, and maybe privacy policy. There's probably a lot of other things that I want to put in there, but I'm not 100% sure what I want to put in there right now. Okay. So those are over there because I didn't set any parameters and didn't set anything for footer. So those are sort of like over there under the sidebar, which is yuck. So I'm gonna style those now by putting in the parameters for footer. And that's going to be the last style I put in there. So hashtag footer, and I'm going to put in my curly tags, hit return, put in padding of 30 pixels, and a background color. First I got to do clear both, which I might rip out later. Background. And let's give it a background color of some gray. And now it should have styled that along the bottom, which it did. Okay, so that's how you put tags in that pertain to different divs.